Hey gang, so I've been threatening for a while to either do a live stream or make a video of making a zine, and I've been putting it off. So I decided that today is going to be the day that I actually do exactly that. I love zines in general. I think it's a great form of expression and creativity, which is why I do it. I think it's also very easy for people to be honest in zines, where generally speaking, you can make a zine, you don't have to share it with other people if you don't want to, you can basically keep it for yourself. I've been making zines for quite a while, I think about, more than 2 years now. I've been making mini zines that I publish onto my Patreon. So if you would like to go and check that out, that would be rad. If you just want to see how to make a mini zine, that would be cool. The zine that I'm going to make today is going to be a very cheap way to make a photo zine. So I'll explain a bit about how I took the photos and all that stuff, but the real idea here is actually to just show how I make a zine. To give you an idea of what a mini zine is, here are some examples of the zines that I have made over the last 2 years or more. I think in total I've got almost 30 zines published on my Patreon, which you can get digital versions of them if you subscribe to my Patreon. All of them pretty much are on there. And I also have a physical zine subscription on there, so I can send you the physical version of the zines if you would like to check that out too. So let me start with what a mini zine is. This was actually one of the first zines that I made. It's my creative manifesto. It's 6 bullets for creative survival. If you are a creative person, you know that being creative isn't always as easy as it sounds. And this was basically just a little zine that I made with 6 guidelines or rules or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, to keep reminding myself why I like doing creative things. So this one was a combination of pen illustrations. I wrote everything by hand, and then I also have this little pocket printer that prints onto, it's a heat printer, so it prints onto the same as the invoice you'll get, or a till slip that you'll get from a store when you buy something. It's kind of like that paper, which isn't the best. It obviously yellows quite quickly over time, and it can also fade really easily if it gets exposed to too much sunlight. But yeah, so I just made this little zine as one of the first ones that I made. As you can see, it's very much cut and paste, super easy to make. I'll show you exactly what you need to make one now. Here's another example of one that I did. It's a bunch of quotes. This is the original. They open up to a single sheet of paper, like so. And then obviously these are very easy to copy with a copying machine or Xerox, or you can even scan them with your phone with certain apps and then print them on your home printer. I love working in black and white specifically because it keeps the cost down. It's very affordable to buy a black and white laser printer, which makes the printing of multiple copies really easy. I'll eventually also do a video of how I make these digitally sometimes. But yeah, here's another example of a little interactive piece of art that I did. It's a short story that I wrote and illustrated, if you can call it that. It's not really illustrations, but it's a little short story that I wrote, and it's got the QR code that's also mentioned in the story, and if you scan it with your phone, then it kind of it breaks the fourth wall, let's say, in terms of a zine. Here's another one that I did, which is also a short story. Again, this one was written by hand. As you can see, if I made a mistake, I just put another piece of paper over it to fix it, even though there will definitely be more mistakes in here. And these illustrations I did were also self-made. And yeah, here's one that's more recent that covers the topic of AI art, well, you can't even call it art, but AI image generation. This one was done digitally. I did all the illustrations digitally and then compiled it into this little zine. Again, all of these can be found on my Patreon. There's another one. There's this one. This is, so where this is the original, this is a printed version or a copied version of the original one. Again, written by hand with a bunch of quotes from famous people, compiled, all touching on the subject of fatherhood. Here's a copy of the interactive zine that I made, or the interactive piece of art. This is a little zine that I made about the Onryo, which is Japanese folklore, which I find really interesting. I also did the illustrations for this myself. And again, it's really cool to be able to make these really easy and affordable to do. So yeah, if you want to see all of my zines, go check out the links in the description. You'll obviously find all the links you need there, and you'll be able to see all of them from there. Yeah, as you can see, I have built quite the collection over the last couple of years. Okay, so let's jump into what you will need to make one of these mini zines. The process is actually not as complicated as many people will make it out to be, but essentially what you will need is a sheet of paper. I work in A4 format. What you will then also need is a pen. I like using fountain pens. You don't have to use a fountain pen. You can also use a pencil, or you can use markers, alcohol markers, or brush pens are also really rad. What you choose to write or draw with on your sheet of paper to make your zine is completely up to you. Then also a pair of scissors, because you're going to make a tiny incision or cut to be able to fold the zine into the 8 pages. Although you don't need this, you can also tear the paper if you want, but cutting it with a pair of scissors is just cleaner and easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I recently went to Hong Kong to visit some family that I have there. And while I was there, I took some photos. So I've done a photo zine like this before, because I do like photography as an art form as well, even though I don't think I'm particularly great at it. I do like taking photos. And what I've actually started doing, which I find really fun and interesting, and I think it kind of adds an extra dimension to the photos that I take, is I use the document scanner app ability of my phone to be able to take these photos. That way they are in black and white, and with some light adjustment, you can turn them into something that's really cool, or at least I think it looks cool. And I've decided to make this into the second of my photo zines. So photosynthesis is a play on words. My first language is Afrikaans. I'm South African, and we have 11 official languages in South Africa, and I speak one of the African languages, or that's my mother tongue at least, is Afrikaans. And this is just a play on words with photos, the word photo, sin, which is a mathematical equation, I think. I'm not great at maths. And thesis, which is the Afrikaans word for a thesis, which you need to do to get your graduate degree, I think. I don't have a degree, but I like the play on words of photosynthesis. And then basically I just drew this little logo thing that I will be sticking onto the front of the zine, and then I also printed out all the photos that I want to put in this zine for this particular one. So let me just get all these together, and then I can show you how we fold the piece of paper to create the little booklet. Again, not very complicated. I have a short video, which I think is just like a minute long or something, which you can find on my channel, that will also show you how to do this. So if you don't catch it the first time, don't worry. It's easy enough to learn, and there is another video, so you can just watch it again, or you can watch it again here. But essentially, the way that I like to start is I fold the paper in half lengthwise. You will see that there are people that do this differently in terms of how they choose to start, or how they fold the zines, or fold the piece of paper. Ultimately, it comes down to be exactly the same thing, so it doesn't really matter all that much. I fold it in half lengthwise first, then you fold it in half vertically instead of horizontally, like so. You don't have to do it perfectly, like 100% lined up. I try and get it as close as possible, because the closer you get it to perfect alignment, the easier or the neater it'll fold into the little booklet. So once you folded it like this horizontally or vertically, then you just fold the outer edges to the middle like so. Again, you don't have to line it up as perfectly as I do. Some people use a bone folder to make sure that the fold or the crease is nice and neat. I just use my nail to get it down like that, and then the same from the other end to fold it like so. Then, as you can see, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. So the way that you fold this into the actual booklet is you fold it in half here, and then you take your scissors and you cut it vertically, or cut it along this line here, from here to this point in the middle. Really simple, not hard to do. I've taught kids, very young kids, how to do this. I went a couple of years ago, I did a workshop at the International Public Arts Festival in Cape Town in South Africa, and instead of doing graffiti on a wall, or a mural on a wall rather, I did a workshop on how to make zines. Okay, so then once you cut the paper, you'll see that there's a little hole here. Then you just fold it over like this and push the edges together like so, and then you fold it into a little booklet. Simple, easy, and most importantly, very affordable and cheap to do. I like this particular way of doing zines specifically because it's so accessible. Anybody can do it. It's not going to cost you a fortune, and you can make literally hundreds of these and it'll cost you a couple of dollars. Okay, so let's start. The first, obviously, we're going to do the cover. So for this, I obviously have my printed out photographs that I am going to stick onto the paper. I have glue stick for that as well. Any old glue stick will work for that. And obviously I have my piece of paper, and then I've got a little something cool to add at the end, which I think is pretty neat, that I'll also show you, that I actually got in Hong Kong. So it'll round out the photo zine featuring Hong Kong. Really cool. So let's what I have in mind for the cover of the zine is this particular photo. This is a photo that I took one night. We went out for dinner, and then on our way back we had to take a ferry from mainland Hong Kong back to Discovery Bay, where my family stays. And I thought this was a really cool shot, that skyscraper there, that the lights go on and off to, it's animated sometimes, but sometimes it also just displays stuff. So this is where the ferry stops, and then the skyscraper and the night over the water there. This is Hong Kong Island. So I just thought that was a really cool photo, and I think it works really well as a cover. Then I was thinking of placing the little logo up there, and then down here I'll just write volume 2 Hong Kong, as there. So let's get to the sticking. I am normally a very talkative person, mostly because I am quite socially awkward, and I guess talking a lot is the way that I cope with it. But if there is some moment of silence, please excuse me, as I haven't done a YouTube video in quite a while. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm just going to use another piece of paper so that I don't get glue all over my cutting board, even though getting glue all over your cutting board is, generally speaking, fine, because it is made to use as a surface to do creative cut and paste kind of things on. Yeah. So there it goes, and then I think I'm going to use my fountain pen, just right here, volume 2 Hong Kong. There you go. Easy as that. Cover of the zine is done. So for me, I guess the hard part is going to be choosing which photos go on which pages and where. they kind of go all over the place. I like to try and structure them that they kind of tell a story, even though it's, you know, it's hard to do with just 6 or 7 photos, or 8 photos in this case, I think. But what I was thinking of putting as the first photo is a photo that I took in a bar. We went to a very tiny, more rural island that's part of Hong Kong, and we had to take a ferry to a island, and then from that island take another ferry to the smaller island. And while we were waiting for the second ferry on the middle island, we stopped and had a drink at this bar. That's my wife over there. This is my brother-in-law. He and his wife actually live in Hong Kong. And then there in the background is my son, and this is me. Okay, so again, just applying the glue to the photo. This isn't very, just hang on a sec. Yeah, so as I was saying, this isn't really like, I didn't print these on any fancy paper or with anything fancy. It's just my home office laser printer that I used to print them in black and white. I made some slight adjustments to the actual photos in Photoshop, just so that they didn't print as dark as they originally printed, which is on the back of this sheet of paper, because you couldn't really make out what was going on the photos. Okay, so I think this sets the scene really nicely, because it kind of introduces the photographer, which is me here, and I think that's quite cool. Just see that the little edges are, or corners aren't properly glued down, so I'm just going to fix that. Okay, and then I felt that maybe to set the scene for the city of Hong Kong, this is a good photo, so I think let's go with that one next. Like, just apply, try and catch the corners this time, seeing as I missed those in the previous one, and as you can see, those corners do tend to peel up. Again, that won't matter as much, since you will be, like I said, you can just scan this sheet of paper or make copies of it on an office copier or a Xerox machine. I don't really know. I know there's a, is it Blink or something in America that people uses, but you can just go to your local copy shop and they will be able to make some copies for you of said zine, seeing as it's actually just one sheet of paper. Okay, what's next? I don't think another cityscape. Maybe let's do another shot with some people, like this one. This was on the little island that we went to before we were waiting, when we were waiting in this bar for the ferry. That ferry that we got took us to this island, which is really small. You can literally walk around the whole island in 20 minutes max. There are no cars on that island. Everybody has bicycles, other than an ambulance, a very tiny ambulance, Actually, it's not the standard size that you would see in most cities. And then also a little fire truck, or fire vehicle actually, and then they have like a ATV that's also for firefighting on this particular island. But other than that, there are no cars on the island. And this was as we were walking, looking for somewhere to eat some street food. This was a photo that I just snapped quickly as we were walking with the document scanner function of my camera app on my phone. Okay, and then how about a interior of a little shop? So you can't really see it that well on this photo, and I've set the focus to lock so that it doesn't continuously adjust the focus. But we were in the city in mainland Hong Kong one day, and we walked past this little shop, which was like a coffee shop, I think. But what caught my eye was that TV in the background there was actually a fish tank. So the owner of the shop was actually sitting here, and then once I took the picture, we started talking, and I had a little discussion, and I said to him, because you can see the cat on the table there as well, and there was a lot of cat stuff going on the posters and stuff in the shop. And as we were talking, I said to him that I think that the fish tank is really cool, because my son was with us, and he also has a little goldfish tank in his bedroom, where he keeps his pet goldfish. And so I took a photo trying to get the fish tank in there, and then we started talking, and he told me that he actually converted the TV into the fish tank himself, which I thought was really cool. That's the one thing that I do love a lot about Hong Kong and Eastern countries in general. I love going there because it's so far removed from Western culture. But there's way more mom and pop shops all over the place. You'll obviously see franchise shops as well, like McDonald's is pretty much everywhere at this stage. And I can remember when I went to Tokyo, I was also blown away by the amount of Starbucks that there was. But you tend to see much more mom and pop operations, like small little individual stores that each have their own unique personality, and Hong Kong is full of them. You'll obviously find the franchises as well, but I enjoy the little mom and pop operations more than I do the franchise, the soulless, dead franchise stores. Yeah. Okay, and then 2 more photos left before we get to the back cover. So what I think we will do here is another photo that includes some people and then another cityscape. So these 2 were also taken on the same day as this photo, while we were walking around in Hong Kong Central on mainland Hong Kong. I think it is on mainland Hong Kong. But we were walking down the street, and there's like a market here, and I just found it interesting. This guy sitting here smoking his cigarette. I thought that was really cool, so I decided to take a photo of it. Hong Kong is a really cool city. It's extremely expensive, especially if you are from a third world country like I am, and the South African rand is extremely weak in comparison to most first world countries' currency. The Hong Kong dollar, even though it's not as strong as the US dollar, it still is stronger than the rand, and everything in Hong Kong to me felt extremely expensive, but it is still an amazing city, and I would recommend it to anyone as a place to go and see. I think it's a nice entryway to China. It's not China by any stretch of the imagination, but it is pretty close. So if you are interested in China, but you don't want to commit to going to China specifically, Hong Kong is cool because it used to be a British colony, and as a result, there's obviously English everywhere. So it makes it a bit easier if you are from a Western or English-speaking country, so that you can then easily get to, communication is easier, and also navigation is easier, because most of the signboards and stuff in train stations and road signs and so on has English as well as Cantonese or Chinese writing on it, which helps a lot. Okay, so there we go. That's basically the insides of the zine done. Simple, easy, really quick to do. So what I would like to do now is the back cover. So what I normally do on the back cover of my zines, let me just grab an example here, is I'll put a QR code with my little logo, my little make more zines, share more zines, and then my Instagram and my Patreon. I don't actually have those right now. I didn't print out one of these. So what I might do is I might just cut up one of my other zines to use one of those QR codes to put on the back, and I might then also just steal one of the let's see, which one should I use? I like using the QR code where it has my little name logo guy in the middle, so maybe I'll just use that one for the QR code. But what we can do is put the little Instagram square thingy, even though Instagram as a platform isn't really what it used to be anymore. I still use it to share some of my art, stuff that I draw, stuff that I paint, stuff that I make. And a lot of people still like using Instagram. So it is a great way to connect with people in terms of social media. But where the real magic happens is on Patreon these days, for me at least. This is the old Patreon logo. The new Patreon logo is much harder to draw, so yeah, that is why I use that old logo. And then let's also say zines, and say share more zines. There you go. Okay, and then the last final little touch that I want to put on, I guess I could cut out the little QR code quickly and repurpose it. It's unfortunate that I am destroying one of my zines, but that is part of zine making, is repurposing things. So now I'm repurposing a zine to make a new zine, which is cool, I guess, in its own way. When I did the workshop in Cape Town for the International Public Art Festival, I took a bunch of my zines as examples to show the people that were in the workshop, and I actually encouraged them to cut up my zines and use parts of it in their zines, because I thought that's cool, you know. And they actually did it, especially the kids, the youngsters, primary school age, like between the ages of, say, 6 and 11 or 10. They loved cutting up the zines and using those to make their own zines, which I thought was rad. Okay, so there's the QR code, so if anybody wants to get hold of me. And then this last little touch that I want to add to this zine is, so I got this in Hong Kong. It's called a chop stamp. So in Eastern countries, it originated in China, but it also spread like 3,000 years ago. But it also spread to Japan and other Eastern countries. It's carved out of stone, and it's a stamp that has my little logo on there, and one of these foo dogs or guardian lion on top carved into it. There's a street in Hong Kong or alleyway actually, called Chop Alley, where you can go, and there are a few little shops there where they actually still make these. People in Eastern countries still use stamps as signatures sometimes, even though normal handwritten signatures have become more modern use, or is more popular in modern day use. But there are still people that use these little stamps to sign official documents or artwork and various other things, which I thought was really cool. So I went to Chop Alley and I got one of my own made for me specifically, which I thought was really nice. So it comes in this little box, and then they give you this type of ink as well, which you use to make your little stamp. It's amazing that they carve this out of stone. It just makes it so much cooler, and I specifically wanted to get it for my artwork. So I'm going to try and get as clean a stamp as possible. It doesn't always come out as clean as you would like it, but let's try. I want to try and get it square as much as I can. And then what I've learned is you have to apply quite a bit of pressure for it to come out. There you go. And that is my little stamp that says sticks, and then sticks in Chinese as well underneath, which, or at least that is what the woman who made it, she was the only female with a shop in Chop Alley, and I chose her to make mine. So she asked me to write my name, which I then wrote, and then she wrote it in Chinese, and she asked me how, and you can pick different designs. I like the red background with the white leaving. You can also get the reverse versions. There's a whole bunch of options that you have, but I thought that was really cool. So here you go, a photo zine made. I'm just wiping the ink from my stamp before I put it back in the little box, and then obviously put the ink back in the little box. Yeah, that was cool. The first time that I've used it on one of my zines. And there we have it. A super affordable mini zine, photo zine, if you will. If you're an amateur photographer or a photographer in general, and you've always wanted to make a photo zine, and you've always not done it because you thought that it has to be a very expensive thing to do, this is a really affordable way to do it. Very easy, a fun little project to do, and you can easily make copies of these and give them to friends or sell them on your website, or attach the digital version to an email and send it to somebody and they can print it and fold it on their own, like I do on my Patreon. The digital version will be available on there, where you can download it and print it and fold it yourself. It comes, with each zine, the instructions of how to assemble the zine also comes with it. It's only $3 a month, which isn't much, but for $3 a month, you can literally get every single zine that I have made and published onto my Patreon, which, like I mentioned, at this stage is, I think there's about 30 of them now. And I put a new one out every month. Yeah, so thanks for joining me for this. I'd love to hear about your zines, what you've made or what you plan on making. So please feel free to leave a comment below. Subscribe. I'm trying to get to 50 subscribers so that I can do live streams on YouTube, because I want to do live streams of me making zines while other people watch and make their own zines. I think that would be really cool. We can talk to each other while we are making our zines. And I hope you enjoyed this little creative project of making a photo zine, a really affordable, easy to make photo zine. Check you later, gang.